Hi, I'm Kelly. If you're new here, I talk about books and writing. It is the beginning of November. So this video is going to do a lot of work. It's going to wrap up October and also show you what's on my TBR for November. You'll notice I still have all my Halloween decor up, and that's because I have kids. And while most YouTubers, I would assume, have taken down their Halloween decor and are either putting up like Thanksgiving decor if you have it, which most people don't, or going all out on Christmas, I'm not going to. My oldest asked if we could decorate for Christmas, and I said no. And he said 2 of his friends have their Christmas tree up, and I was like, cool, that's cool for them. We do a real tree, it will die before Thanksgiving. And so he made me promise that the day after Thanksgiving, we could start decorating for Christmas. So we're gonna do that. But at some point in the next 2 weeks, I'll take down the Halloween decorations, just not yet. Where I left you last, I had like a really book slumpy September, and I am very happy to say that I did not have a book slumpy October, and that I also had some good revelations that I'm hoping I'll stick with because I feel like I've had similar ones before about my reading. Let's just start by talking about what I read in October. The first book I read was The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. This is a thriller. It is about 2 friends who've been friends for a very long time. Like college, I think is when they met. And they are both writers, but very different kinds of writers. Emily, who's the main narrator, she writes cozy mysteries. And then Chess, who's like her friend and has some, not like full-on narration, but some like snippets, she writes like self-helpy type books. And Emily has been going through it, to be honest. She's been going through it. She had all these health problems, and then amid all these health problems, her husband left her. And she's just trying to stay above water, and she has this looming publishing deadline she has to deal with. Chess is extremely famous. She's like one of those authors who always have their books in Target, like that kind of level of famous. And she invites Emily to go stay at a villa in Italy with her for the summer, and they can write. And this villa is famous because there was a group of people staying there in the 1970s who were like rock and roll people, guess, and someone died there. And so you have the 2 different stories. And you know what? This was great. This was a great thriller. It was exactly what I needed to get me out of my book slump. I read it very quickly. I liked the modern day part of the book more than the past time that Emily was reading about through journals about the Rockstar group, probably because I am a writer. And so I found working through writer's block and kind of the tricks her mind was playing on her and all that. I really liked that part of the book. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it was super fun. So I was feeling good, and then I picked up The Academy by Ellen Hilsbrand, which was my most anticipated read of October, maybe even the fall, and it did not disappoint at all. I loved it. I was a little concerned. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about Ellen Hilsbrand writing what I thought was going to be a dark academia. Here's the thing. It's not a dark academia. It's not a light academia. It's just an academia story. We are at a boarding school in Rhode Island, and it has just been named the 2nd best boarding school in the United States. And no one can figure out why. Now, our narrators run the gamut. We are listening to the head of the school. They don't call her principal. I can't remember what her name is. And then we're also having different teachers' point of views and lots of students. So you're getting a really whole picture of this school, which I really liked a lot. I will say, I have seen some reviews saying people like my age and older who didn't love it because Ellen Hilsbrand co-wrote this with her daughter, and you can tell that they made it very realistic. These are Gen Z or Gen Alpha. I don't know. I know my 12-year-old's Gen Alpha. I don't know where the crossover is, but they use that language. They talk about what they're into, the fashion they're into, all that stuff is very much of the high school time period right now. So while I was I don't understand all of the, slang and stuff, I can still understand the book. And I still really, really loved it. It was fantastic and made me so happy to read a great Ellen Hilsbrand in fall. I hope she continues writing books like this, because I know after she wrote her last Nantucket book, she said she was kind of stepping back from writing so quickly. But I do hope that she continues writing kind of stuff like this, because it was really fun. I don't know if you remember, if you watched my October TBR, but because I wanted to buy The Academy, I had to get a main pick book from Book of the Month in October. That book had come out in September, but I wanted to skip September. And when the books came out for October, I wasn't thrilled about any of them. And I decided to get The Haunting of Payne's Hollow by Kelly Armstrong, which I was very worried was going to be too scary for me because I am not a horror reader. But you know what? This also isn't really a horror book. It's a paranormal thriller, but I thought it would be too scary. I actually really liked it. And it is a little spooky, but I still really enjoyed it. Okay. So we have Samantha, our main character, and her grandfather has died. And he's like kind of a strange man. And she did not have contact with him for like the last 2 decades, I think it's been. I think she's in like her late 20s. And it was when she was like 9, or maybe she's in her late 30s. It's been a long time. And he bequeaths this huge piece of property he has on Lake Erie to her. Are we on Erie or Ontario? We're either on Lake Erie or Ontario. I'm pretty sure we're on Lake Erie though. Give me a map. We're in upstate New York. So we're either, I'm a map person. So I have a map of the United States right there. And I have a map of Europe right over there. And it's in upstate New York, but upstate New York, I think, touches both Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. I think it's Lake Erie. There's like all these rumors that the really weird stuff happens on this property. And when she was a kid and used to stay there, she saw some crazy stuff. And the deal with the property is she can have it. It's worth a lot of money to developers, but she has to stay there for 1 month without leaving the premises for longer than like, I think it's 1 hour, and she has to wear an ankle monitor. So like she could go off the property for an hour, not even for like a medical emergency, because who on earth can get a medical emergency solved in an hour? But she could like go pick up food or something. And so it follows her and her aunt who decides to stay with her. And then also the groundskeeper, who is the brother of a boy who died on the property. And she told police she saw her father disposing of this boy's body. And then it goes from there. It was creepy, but I really liked it. So maybe I'm just growing up finally and I can read scary stuff. But it was fun. If you like The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, if you like Great Lake like mystery, which I really love the Great Lakes. I've talked about it before that I'm just like a Great Lakes girl. And so I really liked having this sort of folklore getting woven into the Great Lakes. That was fun. And then next, I read Beauty and the Blacksmith by Tessa Dare, which is a quick, fun novella. It's in the Spindle Cove series. I've read some of Spindle Cove, but not all of it. I've never like sat down and tried to read it from beginning to end. I think maybe I've read like 2 or 3 books in it. I'm not sure. But it's about Diana, and she's supposed to marry rich. She's going to marry wealthy. She's like, her family's depending on her. And she is in love with Aaron Dawes, who's the village blacksmith. And it's wonderful. I don't really know what else to say about it other than it's wonderful. It's fun. It's spicy. It has a great HEA that like makes sense, if that makes sense to you. And it was super fun. I haven't read a Tessa Dare in a long time. So it was kind of fun to jump back into her particular world of Regency historical romance, which always has like a little bit of a zany heroine. So super fun. Next, I read 2 ebooks, and I was also reading another like hard copy book at this time, which I'll talk about at the end because I didn't end up finishing it. But the first one I read was Declan's Dilemma by Julie Ransith. This was a fun shifter, like cowboy romance. So it's like a woman who's a photographer who comes to like take pictures of this ranch for the men who are shifters who run it, like promotional materials. And then when she gets there, the guy that's in charge ends up being her fated mate. In this world, everyone knows shifters exist, so it's not like a big secret. This was just like a really fun before bed, enjoyed it, read. It's a series. This is the first in the series. I think I got it from one of the like Stuff Your Kindle days because it wasn't very long, and usually I kind of like to stock up on not very long romance novels for me to read before I go to bed when I just need to turn my brain off. And this was perfect for that. And then the next one I read was Big Bad Mate by Vera Rivers. And I really liked this book a lot. It's the first in the series and I will probably continue on with it. We have, I'm going to forget the hero's name. Hold on. Thorn, who is the like alpha of his pack. This is another shifter book, obviously, Big Bad Mate. And he is kind of in charge of all the young pack people, and he has to go into this like animal sanctuary one day because one of the shifter teenagers in his group got drunk and passed out and was like picked up by like an animal sanctuary like because he's like an endangered species, I think. And when he goes, he meets Iris, who's this like spitfire of a woman who's like super tiny, And he has to like fight her to get this wolf. And she's like, doesn't want to let him go. Cause she's like, I don't know who you are. And you're saying that this wolf escaped from your sanctuary. Like, what are you talking about? And then he meets her through that. And they have this great romance. But in this world, shifters who are alphas, like shifters in general, cannot mate with humans. So like their relationship would be entirely childless no matter what. But also, if you choose to be with a human, you're going to lose your shifter powers, which would be a really big deal for the alpha. And he sort of falls in love with Iris, and then we go from there. And I really liked this story. The world was very fun. And this was another short one. I think it was like 100 pages. And I read it in, I think, 2 nights and really liked it a lot. All right, let's talk about what I started. So I was reading The Witch and the Tsar by, I've been trying to say her name so many times, Oleica Salnikova Gilmore, I think. And I'm on page 171 right now, so I'm not quite halfway done. And I'm enjoying this book. It is about like Baba Yaga, basically, but like not how you think about Baba Yaga. She's not scary. She's like this healer, and she's somewhat immortal and sort of living in somewhat the court of Ivan the Terrible. She's a very close relationship with his wife, Anastasia, and things are happening to Anastasia. She's sick. She thinks she's being poisoned, and Yaga has to go to court or like the court, not like legal court, to try and figure out who might be poisoning her. This book takes place over a lot of years. So like the first part of the book, we're in the 1560s. And then we're in 1560, and we literally just jumped like 8 years where she was like in the wilderness. So it's going to be one of those really big picture, and you're watching sort of what Russia looks like from a magical lens, but also what's happening during the reign of Ivan the Terrible, which I don't know much about. I did read his Wikipedia page very briefly when I was on about page 100 because I was curious just about a couple things. This book is what I was talking about, how I'm going to frame my reading from now on. This is a medium paced book, which is fine. It's probably going to take me a while to finish this book, which is fine. It's not one of those books where I'm like, oh my God, I can't put it down. I can't stop flipping the pages, which is how The Villa, The Academy, and The Haunting of Payne's Howl, and Beauty and the Blacksmith all were. They were all books like that, where it was just like fast paced, going crazy reading. And I think it's okay that I'm taking a little bit longer, and that I read those 2 ebooks while I was reading this. So basically I feel like it's okay that it's taking me a little bit longer to read this. I will probably have a full review for you at the end of November, because I am planning to finish in November. And yeah, that's The Witch and the Tsar. And then lastly, I only read 3 chapters of this in October because I started it on Halloween night. And then Halloween night ended up being insane at my house, which I'm sure everybody feels that way. It's Read Me Slow by Cherish Reed. I love Cherish Reed. Her books are all fantastic. This one is a contemporary romance because she writes contemporary and paranormal. And it's about a woman who's a romance novelist and her audiobook narrator, like both of them sort of back out at the last second. And so she's pretty confident that she wants to do dual narration, that she can do the woman's part, but she needs someone to do the man's part. And her assistant just sort of reaches out to this guy that has a horror podcast because he has like a good sounding voice. And she doesn't realize that it's the author's brother's best friend, who's 15 years younger than her. And this guy has kind of always been in love with her since they were kids. And now they're working together, reading a very erotic novel together. It's very fun. I'm currently 30% done and really enjoying it. I'm liking it a lot. Now let's talk about November. So here's the thing about November. I am trying to finish writing a book and then get the majorities of revisions done on another book this month, which is kind of crazy, but it is historically, the month of NaNoWriMo, during which I used to try to write 50,000 words. And so I'm currently, in the book I'm working on right now, I'm at like 27,000 words, I think is what I hit this morning. And I want to hit 50, so I have 23,000 words-ish, because I probably won't be exact, left on that project, which might end up being a little longer, a little shorter. I'm not really married to that being 50K at the end. And then I have to do pretty heavy revisions that are going to be hard. For the last 2 weeks. I'm going to try and do that first project the first 2 weeks and then the last 2 weeks, because it's okay if those tumble into December. But because of that, I'm probably not going to read a ton in November. And so here's the plan. So yeah, I'm going to finish Read Me Slow. I'm probably going to finish that in the next couple days. And then I'm going to try to read a big chunk of The Witch, but I'm not going to stress myself out if I don't finish it in November. If I only read 100 more pages, I think it's 400 pages total. So I'm almost halfway done, but I'm not going to stress. And then I just grabbed 3 random books off my bookcase. And then I had Book of the Month books coming today, but they're not coming until we get our mail at 4. My kids will be home. I'm not filming then. So you'll just have to look at pretty images next to me of them. But let's start with the ones I have. So I grabbed Hunting for a Highlander by Lindsay Sands, because sometimes when I'm in the midst of a really intense writing session, which this month will be pretty intense, I do need a romance novel that's very different from what I'm working on. And so I am not writing a medieval romp, which is what these are. This one is about Lady Dwyn Ines and Geordie Buchanan, who's the youngest of the Buchanans. I'm really looking forward to it. I love this series. I'm almost done with it. So I might read this. I also grabbed The Mermaid Chair by Sue Monk Kidd. I've just been wanting to read this. It's pretty short, which I think will be something good for November. I've only read, so this is like 330 pages. I've only read The Book of Longings. I never read The Secret Life of Bees, even though it was like a bestseller when I worked at a bookstore. But I thought that might be a nice one to read this month if I'm feeling like I want to read something a little bit more like magical realism-y, or I'm just like, sometimes when I'm writing romance, I don't want to read anything that's romance because I'm worried it's gonna like affect me somehow. And then I of course grabbed Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab, which the more I think about it, the more likely I feel that this book will be a book I read in like January when I'm done with these 2 big projects. I mean, the thing about being a writer is there's always going to be another big project, but I am planning on giving myself some time off. I usually give myself a lot of time off in December, but with how my deadlines are this year, I would feel better getting that work done in December and taking some time off in January. So I think that is what I'm going to do. And while I'm taking time off, seems like a good time to tackle a almost 540 page book about 2 women who are vampires who have a very toxic relationship but love each other. That might be a January book. Now let's talk about Book of the Month. I have to be honest, I had to grab my computer because I could not remember what I ordered this month, which is just happens sometimes. So my main pick, I'm not even going to go over all the picks because this video is going to be crazy long and I don't want it to be. It might actually not be that long. I'm going pretty fast. My main pick is Lightbreakers by, I think it's pronounced Aja, A-J-A, Gable, G-A-B-E-L, and it's speculative fiction. I was a little nervous picking this one because if Book of the Month puts like good to know, and it says emotional, multiple viewpoints, infidelity, but then it says cerebral. And I'm like, okay. Because sometimes I'm like, I'm not the most cerebral reader anymore. I used to be such a book snob, but not anymore. Give me a thriller and a romance, please. But it's a book about time travel, which also might have been a red flag because the Ministry of Time was about time travel and I didn't really like that one. But I like the way this is pitched. So I'm just going to read you the synopsis because I don't think I'll do justice otherwise. Maya, an artist, and Noah, a quantum physicist, share an insatiable curiosity about the world, but their happy marriage has a shadow over it. Serena, the child Noah had with his first wife, who died before she turned 4. When Noah is invited by the Janus Project to unravel the secrets of time travel, he jumps at the opportunity. At a laboratory deep in the Texas desert, he begins participating in a dangerous experiment that could result in something he thought impossible, seeing his daughter again. Meanwhile, Maya embarks on a journey back to her own past in Japan and to a formative lover who once shattered her heart. As Noah and Maya grapple with hope and despair, new information emerges that the experiments might not be exactly what it seems. A heart-achingly moving novel, Lightbreakers plumbs the mysteries of human connection and explores how to love in a world where time is both a healer and a thief. So first of all, Janus Project, whatever. Janus is that Greek or Roman god, I think Roman, who's always looking in 2 directions at once, which I thought was really cool. And let me just make sure that's correct. I want to see. Yeah, he's the god of two faces: beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passageways. So I get like the time aspect, but also maybe like you're looking at two different points of your life. So I thought that might be a fun read. Secondly, I really like exploring how different types of love affect people, like the love of a child, the love of a partner, the love of a former partner, etc. So that was going to be my first pick. But then because of that, I had to get a thriller just because I have a feeling that book's going to make me cry. First of all, it's about trying to see a child that's died. That's going to be really sad. It just is. And so I was like, maybe I should get something else to go with it that's maybe not as sad. Granted, I'm sure Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil is going to be sad too. And honestly, The Mermaid Chair might be sad also, but The Witch and the Tsar is not sad. And neither is Read Me Slow and neither is the Lindsay Zan. So I'll be okay. I won't lose my mind. I grabbed Where He Left Me by Nicole Bart as my add-on. It's a thriller. This is why. It's a psychological, slow build, non-linear timeline, and unsettling. Sounds great. The main reason I liked it is that it's very snowy and her husband doesn't return from a work trip and she's stranded in a mountain homestead, which like locked house, locked island, locked whatever. I like it. And so she's feeling very scared and alone and she can't figure out why he hasn't come back. And then there's strangers looking around the property. I'm here for it. I'm sure it's going to be scary just enough. She also wrote Everything We Didn't Say, which I never read, but I remember, I don't think I was a member of Book of the Month yet when it came out. I'm trying to see if I can find if they've got the year on it. When did this come out? But I remember it's currently sold out. I remember looking at it when I would be like going through the backlist, being like, oh, I wonder if that's good. But it's a sold out book, so can't get it. So hopefully I'll like that. I am going to try to read both my Book of the Months this month since I've been trying to be good about doing that. Just Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil has been sitting around since I think June. So I'll try to read both those books. I'll definitely finish Read Me Slow. And then honestly, I'm not going to give myself too much grief if I don't get much other read but that. And I'll do a whole big spiel about this in a video about my reading for 2026. But I think for the first time ever, and this is just like a little bit of a spoiler to a later video, I'm going to give myself a reading goal to stay under. I listened to this great podcast called Books Unbound. And I'll try to link it in the description. I think I can link a podcast in the description because I think they are on YouTube. I listen to them on Spotify. But it's two friends who just talk about the books they read. And one of them, not this year, but I think last year, maybe even the year before, said she wanted to read under 50 books and how it really changed how she read that year because every book was kind of important. And I sort of like that idea of doing that. And I have all these really long books that I want to read, but I always feel like this sort of pressure to read a lot. And I think partially that's because so much of my personality is sort of wrapped up in what I'm reading. You know, most of my friends, my neighbors, whenever they see me, everyone asks, okay, what have you been reading? What's been good? And so there is a little bit of like, you know, societal pressure without having a YouTube channel in which I talk about what I'm reading. Also, I'm going to be super honest. Haven't been this creatively inspired in a long time. I mean, you just like, when you're a writer, you just have to like get your writing done and your editing done, even if you're not super creatively inspired. But I've been super creatively inspired. I wrote 40 pages last week, which was kind of crazy. And I just want to keep riding that high. And part of that high is that before bed, I'm not super reading right now. I'm more like either outlining or just like thinking about what I'm going to be writing the next day if I don't have my computer on. And so that's just sort of where I am right now. But I'll definitely have, you know, 4-ish books at least to talk about at the end of November. And that's enough, right? I think it is. I remember a YouTube channel I watched ages ago before I was on YouTube, a booktube channel. And there was this woman and I really liked it because she did a wrap up one July and was like, I didn't finish a single book. She's like, I went on vacation, and she had gone and think of like more of like active vacation, not like a lay on the beach vacation. She was like, I didn't finish anything. And I kind of commend that. There are months where you might not finish anything, and that's fine. I'll finish something this month though. Now, if you've stuck around this entire time for both the wrap up and the TBR, thank you. That was really nice of you. I really appreciate it. And let me know what you read in October that was great and what you're excited to read in November. Have you read any of these books? Did any of them make you cry? Especially The Mermaid Chair. I'd love a heads up. And if you made it this far and don't want to write words, let's do some fall leaves. We are having the most beautiful November so far because we had a very mild October. So now we're getting kind of October weather and it's gorgeous and I love it. And I'm going to go for a really long walk tomorrow. I didn't have time today, but tomorrow, watch out. 4 miles at least. And as always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. I'll see you soon.